whether it's the same for you in your centres, but when we have a new learner, we're given a profile of where the learner's at and what they want to do. But oftentimes, they came for that interview in a state of panic, or, you know, they weren't really sure what they were being asked or really what they want. So you need to check in with your learner. How do they feel about it? You know, are they very nervous? Do they write? You know, why do they want to improve? You know, what is it? Maybe that's going to lead you into where they want to work. And it could be something like, well, all I want to be able to do is write to my daughter in Australia. In which case, that's giving you a great insight where you can start, at least.
When I'm developing any of these classes, I use what's called the 5 C's method. And that is that something has to be challenging, always, for the student. Creative. They can be creative in there. It can be collaborative. And they're communicating with somebody else. It's much easier, I think, when they start to talk and they learn from one another. And also they begin to think critically about what they're doing. Because in the workplace, that's what they'll have to do, the whole problem solving, thinking critically about everything. Is this the right way? Is that the right product? To be able to distinguish between something that is marketing or it's just a complete scam. You know, because sometimes it's difficult to say, you know, the way students come in all the time, oh, I heard blah, blah, blah. And then you question, well, where did you hear it? Who did it come from? And they start to think critically and to be able to look at scams on the internet as well, which I think can be a huge problem.
But as you're with this piece of paper, what I want you to do is, I want you to look at the shapes. And I want you to make some shapes without tearing it up. Your folds will be proof. And I want you to see how many different shapes you can make using one piece of paper.
We've got your triangles, and we have rectangles.
Yes. Instead of handing out the formula for the area of a square, or for the perimeter of a square or a rectangle, is to use paper and let your learners discover it before you give them the language. So you don't have to talk about perimeter, you can talk about the distance around the edge. You don't have to talk about the area, you can talk about the flat surface. And the squared paper is brilliant for that. These ones are 1 centimetre squared all the way around, so they can find their area very, very easily. What you can do is get them to work out the area of the shape that they've made, and then ask them, is there another way that they could come up with the area? So they may have just started by counting how many squares there are inside their shape. So inside this rectangle there are X amount of centimetres squared. Is there another way you could come up with that number? They can use a ruler, use measuring tape, whatever they like. But eventually, it might just be one person in the class, but the thing is that they get together, they discuss it, they talk about it, they try new things. You can bring in a bit of guided discovery and suggest they use the ruler. Suggest that they look at the size of the shape and things like that, so that they kind of figure it out without actually been told exactly what to do. So they figure out the area.
Is it important to mention the difference between spoken language and written language?
Well, yes, but you frighten them a little bit talking about writing a lot. I mean, really, just, you know, concentrate on the reading, that's what they came in to do, but encourage the little bit of writing, the closed text. You know, and particularly if you're writing things or you're reading things about their family, they're quite happy to do a closed text with help. So that gets them into writing, but a lot of them resist writing and they say, I'm only in here for the reading. And it's true, but you know, it goes hand in hand, really. Very difficult to leave one out without the other.
Is there an optimum interval of when people should be assessed?
I'm a great believer in going with your gut feeling, to be honest. I think you kind of know your student. I mean, some people might do it every 6 weeks, but it's when you think the student's ready, you know. So kind of like, I mean, I'd probably just do it at least once a term, definitely. And you might do it more if you feel it's more appropriate. But I would really go with your gut feeling in that. I think you know your students the best kind of thing, so you're probably the one who can engage that.
So ideally, sort of in a nutshell of lesson planning, you identify your desired results. What do you want to achieve? What do you want your learner to achieve at the end of that lesson? What would be acceptable evidence And by that I mean, how do you know that the students have got it, right? What could you use to show you that the students understand? That's acceptable evidence. And around that then, plan that learning experience and instruction for the learner. But that's in a basic nutshell.